at UNDP to welcome Ms. Elisabeth Rasmusson, Assistant Executive Director for Partnership and Governance Services at the World Food Programme, to deliver our opening remarks. Ms. Rasmusson became WFP's Assistant Executive Director in April 2013 for Partnership and Governance. In this role, she oversees the organization's partnership activities with governments, other agencies, and the private sector, as well as WFP's liaison offices. Before joining WFP, Ms. Rasmussen was Secretary General of the Norwegian Refugee Council, Norway's largest humanitarian NGO. She was responsible for the organization's activities in more than 20 countries. And Ms. Rasmussen, who has worked in the humanitarian sector for more than 20 years, was awarded the prestigious French Legion of Honor, l'Ordre National de la Légion d'Honneur, in 2011 for her tireless efforts to promote the rights of refugees and her dedicated work for the Norwegian Refugee Council. So I'm very thrilled to welcome her to the podium.
Thank you very much. I would like to open by first thanking Business Call to Action for organizing this discussion, and also the audience and the panelists for joining in this dialogue here today. As world leaders come together for the 68th session of the General Assembly to discuss the world we want, I'm happy to be a member of a panel where we are already working to achieve the world we want. As it was mentioned, my name is Elisabeth Rasmusson, and as Assistant Executive Director of the World Food Programme, there is one clear change that I want to see in the world. I want to see a world without hunger. With the population expected to grow by 30% by the year 2050, we have to discuss how we are going to feed 9 billion people. With the threats of climate change and land degradation often disproportionately affecting the poor and the vulnerable, we must identify resilient and sustainable methods for production. And we have to make sure that the food is nutritious. Did you know that the economic cost of malnutrition is equal to 5% of the global GDP? It's $3.5 trillion. There is an economic imperative to end hunger, but there is not one single actor who can do it alone. It has to be achieved in partnership. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the World Food Programme, let me just introduce us very quickly. We are the United Nations Food Agency. Last year alone, we reached almost 100 million people in 80 countries with food aid and food assistance. I want to be very clear about the fact that we did not do this alone. We worked with more than 2,000 NGOs, governments, and private sector partners. We worked with our partners to provide the most appropriate response to ensure that the people we served were able to access the food and nutrients that they and their families needed. We all know that any solution to world hunger will include women. Of course, it will also include men, but today I would like to talk about women and how we can and will include them. In 2008, the World Food Programme looked at its programs to see if there were any untapped opportunities to bring lasting change to the population we served. Like many of you, WFP looked at its own supply chain. We launched a pilot program in 20 countries called Purchase for Progress, or P4P. P4P uses WFP's purchasing power to buy food commodities from smallholder farmers, particularly women farmers. The idea is that through P4P, we could help farmers produce more high-quality food and access markets where they can sell their crops at a fair price. This, of course, required some changes in how we did business. We had to change our procurement processes and innovate in areas that included contracting, warehouse management, and our food supply chain. As we looked at our processes, one thing became very clear to us. We had to respond to an enormous gender gap in agriculture. In Africa, for instance, women are, for example, women are responsible for producing up to 80% of the continent's food. However, women are unlikely to own land and are often unable to access financial resources. But studies show that by providing women farmers with more access to resources, we could bring down the number of hungry people in the world by up to 150 million. We know that to achieve a world with zero hunger, we must empower and include rural women in the solutions. With more than 220 partners, including UN agencies, NGOs, microfinance institutions, banks, and private sector partners, we have trained more than 262,000 farmers, agricultural technicians, warehouse operators, and small and medium traders. We have helped them to produce higher yields, market their foods, and benefit from agriculture financing. Increasing yields is, of course, only one part of the puzzle. The World Food Programme delivers school meals to more than 20 million children a year. We are now developing ways to link agriculture with schools to create predictable and structured markets for local producers. For example, in Malawi, WFP is linking local agriculture with primary schools so they can buy directly from farmers. In Guinea-Bissau, women farmers receive tools and seeds in exchange for providing fresh vegetables to schools twice a week. Improving the systems is important. But as I close, I want to focus on the one thing that is essential, and that is nutrition. The first 1,000 days of a child's life are critical. Development that has been slowed by malnutrition in the first 1,000 days from conception can never be recovered. So we cannot miss this window. We must work together to ensure that pregnant and lactating mothers and their children have the right nutrients. With our partners like DSM, we are working to provide the right foods, the right products, and the right education to ensure that mothers are able to provide their children with the foods they need. The world we want and the world I believe that can exist is a world without hunger. And what I hope will come out of our discussion is that simple solutions that are built into our everyday approaches can contribute to fundamental change and to achieve our objective. I look forward to my fellow panelists' presentations for real-world examples on how inclusive business practices, women's empowerment, and improved nutrition can be achieved as a part of different companies' business agendas. Thank you very much.